Hello, and welcome to our Learn and Earn program, Carnival's Travel Advisor Training Program. As an advisor selling Carnival to your clients, your role is a critical one to the Carnival brand. Thank you in advance for your commitment to learning about Carnival Cruise Line and the fun, value, and memorable experiences that Carnival brings to millions of guests worldwide. In today's module, we will be covering an introduction to group bookings, and our topics will include why sell groups, why Carnival. We'll talk about a couple different types of groups, and then we'll go through some of the group basics, including the group amenity program, tour conductor credits, how to customize the group, and the different payment dates for a group. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with where to find groups to start growing your business. So let's get started. So why sell groups? Groups are going to be the easiest way to start growing your customer base and increase your earnings. To say it a different way, it's a whole lot easier to sell a group of 50 cabins rather than selling 50 individual bookings. So instead of making one booking, you have the opportunity to sell multiple cabins for a particular sale date. You can also customize the group with different perks. So you'll get early booking discounts. We'll talk about that in a moment. Some flexible payment schedules, TC credits, along with group amenities and the ability to customize the group program. Now, why choose Carnival for groups? Well, put simply, Carnival does more group business than any other cruise in the industry. We are the largest and most successful cruise line in the industry and have been in business since 1972. We offer a contemporary product that really appeals to a wide range of ages and interest level. So doing a group on board Carnival is perfect because there's something for everyone. We also sail out of 14 different ports around the continental United States with a variety of different itineraries. So hopefully the ships are close by to where your group is, making it easy to get them on board. We also provide an outstanding value for all guests coming on board, and we have a very high guest satisfaction rating. So 98% is the average guest satisfaction on board. We have a dedicated team within our groups department to handle customizing if you have any specific group needs. And we make it easy to book. So you can really book and manage your groups from start to finish using GoCCL, which makes it a whole lot easier and faster to have everything right there at your fingertips. Let's talk about the different types of groups. Now, the first type of group is going to be a speculative or an open promo group. This is where you find a really good rate, maybe at a very convenient time of year. It could be spring break, it could be over a holiday, but you don't necessarily have anyone interested. You just block space and then go out and promote it. Now, we do find that the open promo groups are the least successful types of groups because you don't have a built-in audience just yet. You have to pay a lot of money to market it, whether it's through social media or through flyers or through the paper or through radio. So we do find that open promotion groups require a lot of money and tend to be your least successful type of group. The kind of groups we really like are the affinity groups. So an affinity group is going to be any type of group with something in common. So it could be everyone who goes to the same church. It could be a family reunion group. It could be members of a tennis league that are coming together. It could be a Zumba group, but it is something where all of the group members have something in common. So we do find these are the most successful type of group, and they require very little marketing dollars, if any, because you already have the built-in audience and people who have something in common and want to travel together. Now, within the affinity groups, there's a couple different types here. The first one is going to be a come-along group. A come-along group is going to be where there is a personality, whether a local or national personality, could be also on the radio, or a Pied Piper, and this is someone that people want to travel with. So this is where you book the Pied Piper, you book the personality, and they invite people to come along with them. Could also be a fitness instructor that has a very popular following. Could be a radio DJ. Another type of group is an incentive group. Now, incentive groups are fantastic groups to have because this is where a company or an organization wants to pay for everyone coming on board. It could be an insurance company, it could be a pharmaceutical company, could be a real estate company, but they are paying for everyone to come on board the cruise. The nice thing about incentive groups is the company, the person that is organizing it, typically pays with one check or one credit card, so you're not chasing down multiple payments. They also like to pull out all the stops. They like to wine and dine their group members, so they tend to do a lot of balconies. They like to add additional perks and amenities to their groups. So incentive groups are great groups to have, as well as corporate meeting groups. So this is for any company that has an annual or semi-annual meeting and is looking for something non-traditional. And I do believe, I would say at least 9 times out of 10, that a cruise is going to be a more cost-effective option than the land-based meetings. So when they come on board, they can use our lounge space as meeting space. And then everything is set up for the group. This is really a meeting planner's dream because they don't have to go through and choose menu and arrange activities. They might have to help on setting up some of the meeting times, but otherwise it is a very turnkey option, especially for a meeting planner. And then finally, fundraising groups. Carnival does have a fundraising donation option as part of our group amenity program, but fundraising groups are great for organizations who are looking for much needed funds. They are very low risk. It's a very easy option for them, but fundraising would be for any nonprofit that has the 501c3 qualification. Let's go through and talk about some group basics. So at Carnival and pretty much across the industry, a group is considered at least 8 cabins with 2 people in each room. It does have to be booked as a group from the very beginning. Now, your group allotment is going to be speculative when you take the space out, and it locks that rate in and gives you the ability to get out and promote it. The rates are then protected once you put an initial deposit down, and then you get an actual booking when you get the full per person deposits along with full names and date of births, and then it's a secured booking. The biggest advantage of a group is not going to be pricing. The pricing on a group is going to be comparable to the lowest rate at the time of booking, usually to our early saver rate, although group rates are fully refundable. But the group pricing is going to be available in a variety of categories, pretty much from an interior, a 4A, all the way up to the highest balcony, which is an 8I. Now, when you're taking out group space, it's better to block too many rooms than not enough. You might have a family that figures down to the T that they need exactly 11 rooms, but maybe they forgot about someone else. So you want to make sure you have rooms to accommodate if there's any additional people that come along. Plus, you might have the opportunity to sell other people into your group as well. So make sure you're always blocking more cabins than you need. You can always cut that space down, but you might run into scenarios further on down the road where either group space is no longer available or the rate has gone up pretty dramatically. Also, along with book more rooms than you think you need, book several categories. Remember that there's people with a variety of different budgets out there. So book a variety of category options, interior, ocean views, and balconies. You can always adjust those as you see what's selling. But if you have a group leader who tells you everyone wants interior, there might be people in that group who actually want a balcony stateroom. Now, when you're booking people within your group, you can have a combination of add-ons. So you can have a combination of air guests and cruise only guests. You might have some with our vacation protection, some without, some with gratuities, some without. So you can have a combination of add-ons within your group. Now, when you're blocking Carnival groups, please know that group rates are protected down to 1 stateroom. So if you're out promoting a group and for whatever reason, only 1 person books, we're not going to move them out of the group and tell them, hey, they have to book at the current rates. That group rate is going to be protected. We do protect group amenities down to 5 cabins. Now, that's not for every single amenity out there, but for the majority of them, we protect them at 5 cabins. Let's talk through blocking some of the categories within your group here. And I want to make sure you all understand how the Carnival deck plans work. So the categories are going to start with the B categories in most cases, like a 4B, a 6B, and an 8B are typically going to be the minimum. Anything with a 4 is an interior, anything with a 6 is an ocean view, anything with an 8 is a balcony. And then the higher the letter is into the alphabet, the higher the categories. Now there's a limited number of the A categories. So a 4A, 6A, and 8A, you might see it available for your group, although in many cases they are going to start with Bs. But you can always add those lower categories with a full per person deposit and names. Just a caution, a 1A out there is going to be the bunk bed type of room in just about all of the ships. There's a few exceptions out there, but 1A is going to be your bunk bed room. Now, all of the rooms on the ship are based on double occupancy, and there's a limited number that will hold 3, 4, or 5 people. So your group allotment that you're taking out will all be based on double occupancy. You can't hold any triples, quads, and quints, but you can always add them to your group with the full per person deposit and names. That goes for any other type of stateroom that is limited in nature. So when we're talking about suites or some of the specialty rooms like Havana staterooms or the Family Harbor staterooms, those cannot be held as part of your speculative group allotment, but they can always be added again with the full per person deposit and names. Some of our ships have a limited number of ocean view rooms because the majority of the ship is balcony. So on some ships, you cannot hold ocean view rooms as your allotment, but again, you can add them with the full per person deposit and names. Let's talk about the group amenity programs. So you will hear this called a variety of different things. You'll hear it called the group amenities. You'll hear them called GAP points, group amenity points. You'll also hear them called fun points, but they're all the same thing. So Carnival offers group amenity points or fun points on most of our sailings. So when you're booking a group, you will see how many points are on that sailing. The more availability and the more open the sailing is, the more amenity points there will be. Now, if it's a very high demand sailing or very limited availability that the ship is almost sold out, no amenity points on there. So please know that those amenity points correspond to a list of gifts that you can give your clients or also some bonus commission opportunities. These are points that we give to you, the travel advisor, to gift to your clients. Don't take this list and give it to your client and say, hey, we have 4 amenity points. What would you like to do? Instead, choose the amenity that you think would be appropriate and present that as a gift that you'll be giving to your group. Now, with your amenity points, I mentioned that there'll be a number that are assigned to that sailing. You can always buy up to 12 amenity points. The rate goes up a minimal amount. It goes up $1 a day, a point per person. And so roughly on every 3-day cruise, every point is $3 per person. On a 4-day cruise, every point you buy up is $4 per person. On a 5-day, $5 per person, and so on. So this really gives you the ability to choose the amenities for your group, to customize it. It just gets rolled into the commissionable cruise rate that you present to your clients, but it does give you the ability to customize it, and might make sense to buy those points up to make the perks even better. Let's talk through the group tour conductor credit. So the group tour conductor credit, again, you'll hear multiple terms for it. You'll hear it called a TC credit, a tour conductor credit, a 1 for 15. They all mean the same thing. So Carnival provides 1 cruise credit for every 15 full fared guests. And again, we call this our TC credit or our tour conductor credit. Now, let me break that down for you a little bit more. So full fared guests, only first and second guests in the room are considered full fare. Do you remember I told you that a group is considered 8 rooms? So 8 rooms, 2 people in each room, that's 16 people. So you've got 15 people, and then the 16th person would get a cruise credit. Now, to figure out how many TC credits that you will earn, you take the total number of first and second guests and divide by 16. That will tell you how many tour conductor credits you will earn on the sailing. There's no cap to those TC credits. Now, to figure out the actual amount of the TC credit, it's given on the cruise rate portion. So if you look at my example below, a cruise rate is made up of 3 parts. You've got the commissionable cruise rate, the non-commissionable fees, and those 2 are always combined when we're advertising. So in this example, it would be $4.59 that the consumer would see. And on top of that are government taxes and fees. So all 3 of those together make up your cruise rate. When we're talking the TC credit, it is based on just the cruise rate portion alone. Now, to figure out the actual amount of the TC credit, it's given on the cruise rate portion. So if you look at my example below, a cruise rate is made up of 3 parts. You've got the commissionable cruise rate, the non-commissionable fees, and those 2 are always combined when we're advertising. So in this example, it would be $4.59 that the consumer would see. And on top of that are government taxes and fees. So all 3 of those together make up your cruise rate. When we're talking the TC credit, it is based on Now, the TC amount is going to be an average of all of the rates booked. So that means if you've got a base cruise rate of $300 for your interior staterooms, but you sell a couple suites in there that are $1,200, that's going to raise your average TC amount. Now, you figure out the amount of it. It will be calculated at final payment. And at final payment, it's basically just a credit that you can then use towards the group leader stateroom, towards your stateroom. You can use it to give everyone in the group a discount on their room. You can do onboard credits, or you can take it as additional money coming back as part of your commission. So you just tell us how you want to use the TC credit. But again, for every 15 full-fared guests, the 16th guest does have a cruise credit. Let's talk about customizing the group. So we actually have an entire department called our group event planning department that handles any type of out of the ordinary cruise request. And this includes meeting space. So we can provide meeting space for groups of 20 or more. We can also customize if they have AV needs, if they wanted to do some sort of breakfast breakout or do a private luncheon, those can all be accommodated. If they wanted to do a cocktail party, event planning would also handle those. So if you do have a group that has special requests, we do need the group to be deposited, but I would email our event planning team at eventplanning@carnival.com, include all of the booking information, the group booking number, ship, sail date, how many guests you're expecting, and then provide a wish list of what the group is looking to do. Now, we do ask that the group is flexible because we have to keep in consideration the rest of the guests on board. You might have a group of 50 people coming on board, which is a fantastic size group, but we have to be cognizant that there's another 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people on board. So we do need to keep the Carnival programming in place. Typically, it's going to be easier earlier in the day to get any type of meeting space. But again, as long as the group is flexible, we're able to accommodate many of the basic meeting needs on board. Let's talk about group payments, because one of the biggest typically you have an option time where from an hour up to about 2 days. Now, if you're talking about blocking a group, there's no way you can get all those deposits in within an hour or within 2 days. So we do give you some payment flexibility. Now, assuming we are far enough out, when you block group space, you days to make an initial deposit of $25 per person. Now, that's what Carnival requires. I would suggest that you request a higher amount from your guests. This is really just for you, so you can get out and start your marketing. But if you are collecting more from each guest, you're going to have more space that you can hold as part of your group allotment, and you're also going to get a more serious commitment from your guests. So $25 within 60 days is all that Carnival requires of you. The second deposit is due roughly 120 to 150 days prior to the cruise, depending on the length of itinerary. This is when the full per person deposit, the amount that would be required in individual reservations, would be due. And then final payment is going to be due roughly 75 to 90 days prior to the cruise, again, depending on the length of itinerary. Let's talk through this a little bit more. So when we're talking about the $25 per person deposit, that is really only a courtesy hold on the group space. That means that you are holding those cabins, but you don't have any actual bookings. Now, if you can, I would encourage you to get the full per person deposit from your clients, because if you can get the deposit, then you can go ahead and berth your stateroom. Berthing also means selecting. So you do need full deposits and names to berth a stateroom, but once you have that, once you berth a cabin under your group, it then becomes a solid booking, and you can send guests a confirmation. They can choose their dining time, they can choose their stateroom location. Anything less than the required full per person deposit is just going to be a courtesy hold. So the full per person deposits are going to run from $100 per person for the 2 to 3 day cruises, $150 per person for the 4 and 5 day cruises, $250 per person for the 6 to 9 day cruises, and then $400 per person for our longer cruises, 12 days and longer, as well as our Hawaii and Alaska cruises. So this is going to be the deposit amount that you would need to actually berth the cabin and have a cabin assignment and an actual booking number for those guests. Let's talk through berthing guests a little bit more. So when I mentioned at the beginning, when you take out group space, it's all going to be a speculative allotment, and it's all going to be on a courtesy hold unless you have the full deposits. So you're not holding actual cabin numbers, you're just holding a category. So deposits are held at group level until you have the full per person deposit. Now, once you get the full per person deposit, then you can berth a cabin and they can get an actual stateroom. So this is called cabin level. So this is going to be when you assign the full names and deposits. They can choose their dining time, they can choose their cabin number, they get their own booking number as well. So what will happen is you will wind up with a group booking number and then a bunch of booking numbers under that group. To talk through our payment policy a little bit more, so when you block your group, you do get a group confirmation that has all of your payment dates. Remember that initial deposit date where all we're asking for is $25 per person, the full deposit, which is the amount required to berth the cabin, and then the final payment. So those dates are all spelled out on your contract. Now, the full amount is required by that option date on your contract. So if you're holding 10 staterooms, $25 per person, $50 per room, that's $500 that would be required on group level by the first deposit date. Now, if you only have 400, the system is not going to scale it down. It's an all or nothing. You have to make sure you have the full amount by the required date. This is another reason why you want to collect more than $25 per person, because if you collect a higher amount, you have more money on group level to cover that first deposit date. Now, by the second deposit date, same thing. I would make sure that in the cabins by second deposit, if not sooner. But if you're still holding any type of speculative group space on group level, you need to have the full deposits on group level or that space will disappear. Now, quick note, we keep talking about you want to get the full per person deposit and berth those guests as soon as possible. Even if you don't have enough money on group level and the whole group cancels, as long as you have berthed the cabin with the full deposit and names, and is protected all the way until final payment. Now, if you try to berth a cabin with less than the full per person deposit, then it will automatically cancel and revert back to group level. But another reason why you want to make sure you are always getting full deposit or required deposit and berthing those cabins, because then they're protected even if the entire group cancels. Now, if the booking cancels, new bookings are subject to new rates, and what might happen is there may not be any space available. So make sure you don't miss those option dates. Let's talk through a few ideas to get you started here. Really, there are so many different avenues that you can pursue. If you take a look at this list, hopefully you have an opportunity to reach out to some of these. Some that jump out to me, music groups, having bands come on board are a great option. Charities and having nonprofits. Church groups are huge for Carnival. Family groups coming on board. Family reunions coming on board. Girlfriends getaways are also great. Senior groups are also a lot of fun, and then we also do weddings at sea. So start thinking about some of these options to get groups on board and to continue growing your business and growing your commission. And you're on your way to becoming our video on Carnival Introduction to Group Bookings. Please remember to complete the short quiz to complete this training. And for more information on this topic and more, please visit GoCCL.com. Thank you so much for all your support of Carnival Cruise Line.